All right, so open up your book to lesson 3, where we're going to do some string operations. So the first thing we're going to look at what's called concatenation. So concatenation is basically just making sure that all of your text gets strung together. So instead of having like your first name on one line and your last name on the next line, concatenation would push them together. So open up Eclipse. And I'm going to go to File, New Java Project. Call this Lesson 3 and click Finish. And then in the SRC, make a new class. So you can make new classes within these Java projects. So like when you go to do your Lesson 3 project, you can make a new class right in here in Lesson 3. So this one, we're going to name Concatenate. And click Finish. So we are in public class concatenate. I'm going to put my bracket down on the next line and type in our usual skeleton. So public static void main string args open close bracket. And then put your brackets right below. All right, so like we talked about in lesson 2, I'm going to declare a string. Remember, string has to be capitalized for it to work. So we're going to say string, and we're going to name it first name. And then we're just going to finish our declaration by putting in a semicolon. And then we're going to come down to the next line, and we're going to initialize first name as equal to whatever your first name is. Then we need to set up a last name. So I'm going to show you a little trick in here. So instead of setting 2 lines to declare first name and last name, come up after first name in your declaration and declare last name as a string also. So you can do that all in one line. Then come down below first name and initialize last name as whatever your last name is. Make sure all 3 lines have a semicolon. Now we're also going to concatenate them. So come back up to your line 6, and after last name, put a comma, full name. And then we're going to add our names together. So full name equals first name plus last name. Don't forget your semicolon. Then you can do system.out.println and have it print the variable full name. And go ahead and try to run it. Oh, there's an error. So let's take a look through our program. We have first name, last name, full name. We have full name, and N is capitalized. First name, N is capitalized. Last name, N is lowercase. Let's go back and fix that. I'm going to try to show you guys some troubleshooting tactics so that whenever you run into issues, you know what to do. So that got rid of our error. Let's go ahead and run it. All right, so it concatenated by name together. What if you want a space? You have a couple of options. So one option is you can come and say full name is equal to first name plus quote space plus last name and run that so it adds in a space in the full name. Or we delete that. You can even put a space in before your last name and it runs the same way. Okay, so let's try something else. So we have full name. So we're going to, in our line number 10, after full name, put dot length, open and close parentheses. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be looking at the length of full name. So length here is a method, and we put the open close parentheses because it needs a place to go. It's kind of like up here where we put our arguments in the open and close brackets. So now if you run this, 15. So even though it's 4 plus 10, because we have that space in there, it says that my name is 15 letters long. And I know it seems kind of silly to write a program to count the number of letters, but later on in the semester, we're going to find plenty of uses for it, so do not fret. Okay, so if you got that to work, go ahead and we're going to come up here and we're going to delete it. We're going to stay in the same main and the same concatenate class here, but we're going to set up a new string. So I'm going to set up a statement that's going to declare and initialize all at once. So I'm going to set up string Jedi equals Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's spell that correctly, shall we? Okay. So if you look at this line, I'm missing something at the end, and that is my semicolon. And then press enter. We're going to declare string small part equals, and we're going to set up something a little different here. So it's Jedi.substring, open and close bracket. It came out with begin index. So we're going to pick 4. So our arguments have to go in there, and I know it doesn't really make sense right now, but just stick with me here for a second. So we have string Jedi set to Obi-Wan Kenobi. String small part is equal to my Jedi that I set up before, and substring 4. So when we print this, we don't want to print Jedi, we want to print small part. So press enter. System.out.println and print small part. Close your parenthesis and end your line. So go ahead and run that. So all we got is 1 Kenobi. So what this substring did is it cut off the first 4 characters, so the OBI and the dash. So come back up to line 7, and after 4 we're going to add another argument. So do 4, comma, 8, and then hit run. So now it only printed from letter number 5 all the way to 8. So it has the WAN and the space after it. If you want to see a little better version, do 3 to 10. So change 4 to a 3 and your 8 to a 10. Hit run. Okay, so now that we did substring, we have one last thing for you. So I'm going to leave my string as Jedi. And then our next line, we're going to system.out.println, open and close parentheses. And we are going to print Jedi.to lowercase. Open and close your parenthesis. And let's run it. Now it says we have an error. Insert semicolon. So we forgot our semicolon. Now we don't have any errors. So let's go ahead and run that. And all of the things that were capital up here are now not capitalized. Very exciting. Yay! Along the same logic, if there's a method to turn everything to lowercase, let's check and see if there's one for uppercase. Go ahead and run it. And now we are screaming Obi-Wan Kenobi through our computers because it came back in all caps. So now we're going to look a little bit back at concatenation. So delete that last line, and I'm going to change my string. So I'm going to call it donut. I'm going to change what it's equal to. How many donuts did you eat? We're going to come down to our next line. We're going to initialize and declare an integer. So I'm going to name mine sad equals 5 donuts. So my integer sad. So now I'm going to come down system.out.println And I don't need quotes because I'm just going to say donut plus sad. So what it's going to do is it's going to take our string, it's going to convert our int into a string also. So when you run it, how many donuts did you eat? 5. So what you can do if you would like a space after it, come back up to your string, add a space before your end quotes and run again. And how many donuts did you eat? 5. The last thing we're going to talk about for lesson 3 are escape sequences. So say you have a string, and we're going to call it string quote. Set it equal to, did you just say no? Okay, so what I want to show up when I print is, did you just say no with the word no in quotes? But if you look at even the color changes here, it thinks that it wants us to print, did you just say, and then close after no, and then a question mark. And it obviously doesn't like that because of our error. So we're going to have to kind of trick it into doing what we want it to do by displaying the quotes as actual text. So look on your keyboard above your enter button. So in front of these quotes that we want to be text, a front slash. And now it verifies. Still have an error because we forgot our semicolon at the end. So don't forget your semicolon. So come down to the next line, system.out.println, print our quote, put in your semicolon, and compile. And it prints our quotes. The last thing I'm going to show you for this is another way to break out of a new line. So if we had system.out.println, here is one line, front slash above your enter button, and here is another. So this backslash n, or front slash really, is our new line code. So if we put a semicolon at the end and run it, here's one line and here is another. So we don't even see that front slash n in our code anywhere. So basically what this does is it initiates a new line without having to run another println. Instead of slash n, you could also do slash p, do a tab in the middle of your line. So when you run it, here's one line, here's a tab clearly in there, and here is another. And remember that tabs have different lengths. So if you run a program and it looks like your tab didn't work, put a second one in there and see how it looks then. So another tab. Now it did a double tab. In Appendix B of your book, they actually have some different places where you can use escape sequences. So if you are interested in using them, they are here in Appendix B, which is page 448 of your book. Now you're ready to do the Lesson 3 questions that are on Moodle for you, as well as do the project Name That Celebrity. I'll open the forum for you to ask each other questions. And remember, we will have a quiz over lessons 1 through 3 this week.